On the afternoon she disappeared, Niqui McCown walked 1 block from the laundromat to her mother's house. She said 2 men were harassing her. She said she was afraid to go back. Her mother told her not to worry. She thought nothing of it. That was the last normal conversation she ever had with her daughter. Niqui went back to the laundromat anyway. By late afternoon, she was gone. No phone activity, no sighting, nothing. Her name was Niqui McCown. She was 28 years old. She has been missing since July the 22nd, 2001. Her body has never been found. Marilyn McCown, known to everyone as Niqui, was born on January the 6th, 1973, the youngest of 10 children in a close-knit Richmond, Indiana family. By 2001, she was working as an accounting clerk at the Montgomery Education and Pre-Release Center in Dayton, Ohio, raising her 9-year-old daughter Peyton, and 3 weeks from her wedding. The invitations were on the kitchen table, addressed and waiting. She had Graves' disease and took daily medication to manage it. When she did not come home that Sunday, her family's fear was immediate and specific. Niqui would not leave without her medication, and she had never missed a day of work without calling. On the morning of July the 22nd, she attended church with her fiancé, Bobby Webster, and Peyton. That afternoon, she dropped Peyton at a babysitter and drove to the Richmond Coin Laundry on Southeast Street. She stopped briefly at her mother's house. Then she went back. She finished the laundry. She loaded the clean clothes into Bobby Webster's 1990 GMC Jimmy, calm, unhurried. The last confirmed image of her was captured at the Village Pantry convenience store at 3:19 in the afternoon. She had left her purse and her ID at home. She drove away. She did not pick up Peyton. She did not arrive home. Bobby Webster reported her missing the following morning after his calls went unanswered. The search in Richmond found nothing. The answer, such as it was, would not come for 4 months, and it would come from 45 minutes away. On November the 3rd, 2001, Bobby Webster's GMC Jimmy was found at the Meadows of Catalpa apartment complex in Harrison Township, Ohio, sitting in the lot long enough to have become part of the background. Someone finally looked closely enough to run the plates. The complex had a connection to Niqui's past. Peyton's father, Stephen Johnston, lived there. Niqui had lived there with him in 1997. Johnston was questioned, passed a polygraph, and was cleared. Inside the car, her laundry, still in the baskets, neatly folded, exactly as she had loaded it nearly 4 months earlier. On the day she disappeared, Niqui had called a female co-worker who lived approximately a mile from that complex, asking about where to pick up beauty supplies in Dayton. Investigators believe she drove toward that area that afternoon, and that something happened to her there. The vehicle had been stripped and wiped. The stereo and battery were missing. The door lock had been knocked in. The ignition switch had been tampered with. No usable fingerprints were recovered. Whoever drove it to Harrison Township understood what evidence a car could carry and had removed it. In the days after Niqui disappeared, her fiancé Bobby Webster did not postpone the wedding. He canceled it entirely and demanded a full refund from the reception venue. He took his wedding band to the jeweler to return it for cash. It was refused because Niqui had purchased it and her name was on the receipt. The day after her disappearance, he called Sinclair Community College to request her unused tuition back, growing upset when told it had been paid by her employer and was not his to claim. He would later say he was trying to raise money to help search for her. Investigators asked him to take a polygraph. He failed it. Sergeant Berner later recalled the result directly. One of the questions was whether Webster had anything to do with Niqui's disappearance. He said no. The needle, in Berner's words, nearly jumped off the chart. A witness who came forward in later investigations reportedly placed Webster at the Richmond coin laundry. At the same time, Niqui was there, directly contradicting his stated alibi. K-9 units deployed during a reinvestigation produced alerts near his former property. No remains were recovered. Bobby Webster and Stephen Johnston are not considered persons of interest in this case. That is the official position as of 2024. Niqui's daughter, Peyton, remained close to Webster for years. She has stated publicly she does not believe he was responsible. Bobby Webster died in 2021. Whatever he knew about the laundromat, about the polygraph, about the alibi a witness contradicted, he died without it ever being tested in a court. At her bridal shower, weeks before she disappeared, one of her co-workers sent lingerie as a gift in a room full of her family and friends. His name was Tommy Swint. He had worked alongside Niqui at the same facility since 1994. He had been identified as a person of interest early in the investigation. His documented behavior toward Niqui went well beyond that gift. Niqui's sister Michelle later told investigators she had once walked in on Swint pinning Niqui against a chair in a way she found alarming. Niqui had described the incident as playing around. Her sister's description was different, and there was something else. Niqui and Swint had, at some point, been involved in a brief secret relationship. Her sister warned her to end it. His former girlfriend had lived in Harrison Township, just around the corner from where Niqui's car was found. That proximity has never been formally explained. In 2007, Swint was sworn in as a probationary police officer with the Trotwood Police Department. Within 6 weeks, he resigned after Richmond investigators alerted Trotwood officials to his status in Niqui's case. He had not disclosed it when he was hired. He held a public news conference, claiming he had never been informed he was a person of interest. The lawsuit he filed against the department was dismissed when the department produced documentation showing he had been notified. He also had a girlfriend at the time of Niqui's disappearance. Investigators believe she has information about this case. She has not been willing to speak with them. In May 2008, DNA from a 1991 murder in Dayton was matched to Tommy Swint. The victim was Tina Marie Ivory. She was last seen alive on December 14, 1991. 3 days later, tree trimmers found her body in a brush pile off Dayton Liberty Road, beaten, strangled, wrapped in trash bags and a quilt. A fingerprint on the duct tape binding her body also matched Swint. In October 2008, detectives confronted Swint with the results. He denied knowing Ivory. When told his DNA matched evidence from the scene, he said, "I have nothing to say about that." He ended the interview. He told detectives, "I am sure I will see you again. My attorney would not want me to get into this." By February 2010, prosecutors had taken the evidence to a grand jury. The indictment was returned just before noon on February 3rd. Officers drove to Phoenix City within the hour. He had prepared for that morning. As officers approached the house, they heard a single gunshot. Tommy Swint died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was 43 years old. He left nothing about Niqui McCown. The connection between Swint's confirmed presence in Dayton and Niqui's disappearance has never been formally established. It has never been formally excluded. In November 2003, remains found near Spencer, Indiana, were tested against Niqui's DNA. the results were inconclusive. No identification was made. But that was not the only thing investigators missed. The investigation was also compromised from another direction. The original lead investigator on Niqui's case was removed from the investigation after a personal relationship with her came to light. His name has never been made public. How that relationship affected the earliest phase of the investigation, the weeks immediately after she disappeared, when the trail was still warm, has never been fully accounted for. Anonymous letters received by investigators over the years have named individuals and suggested locations. None has produced a confirmed lead. Someone has been writing those letters for over 2 decades. Someone who has known something or believed they knew something and has not been willing to say it in a room where it could be tested. Niqui McCown has been missing for over 20 years. In 2024, a Dateline NBC feature brought renewed public attention to the case. New searches of wooded areas around Richmond were conducted. Cadaver dogs were deployed. No remains were recovered. Tommy Swint's computer was obtained for forensic examination. A dead man's machine, 14 years after his suicide, because investigators believe the answer may still exist somewhere in what he left behind. Tommy Swint chose the moment he died. He had been told what the evidence showed. He'd been told where the investigation was heading. He chose to be the only person who would ever know what happened to Niqui McCown. Whatever he knew, he had prepared to keep it. That preparation is the last act of this case, and it is the most considered thing anyone did in it. This is Obscura Case, where every mystery deserves to be remembered.